to Lorena's Labyrinth today. Today we're going to be talking about in this video the angel Israfel, and it's pronounced kind of like Israfel. He leads a legion he leads the legions of angelic music. That's his task, that's his role. We're going to be talking more about that today. Now, just to clarify once again, when it comes to angels and their auras, there's a couple of things. One is that they actually are not gender specific. They are neither female nor female. That is a human limitation and restriction, if you like, and they can present or manifest as either female or male to people dependent on your personal comfort levels. The other thing is too that when it comes to their aura, they actually don't have these big feathery white wings like what I've got here, but I'm comfortable with that, and I think it helps to convey mood, and this is why I use the images of angels with white wings. Although if you were to see their auras, which are their light bodies, it's more of a cylinder, and it's got some I suppose you would call it winged, where the human aura is a round oval egg-shaped type aura. The angels is longer, more cylindrical, and has a form of light wings that come out to the side. So when we're talking about music, we're also talking about sound, and the mission of the angels of music is the creative word of source, or the eternal. They don't have vocal cords, and they definitely communicate through the mind, and they sing from the heart, and the singing is like a humming or chanting, or the expression of tones without words. You may recall a time when you found yourself in a situation and you've heard music that's so very powerful and beautiful, it has felt as though you're transported. Now, in those kind of instances, you can be assured that angels have been present and they have helped to energize. And they do this by calibrating your personal vibration to allow for a spontaneous opening of your heart channel, to allow a sense of personal freedom. Now, it's a very rare moment on this earth plane where we get to experience angelic music. So just to expand upon Israfel and get a little bit of an understanding as his role within the hierarchy, as I said before, he does lead angels of music, and before we talk about the blessings of Israfel specifically, it helps to get a bit of an understanding about both him and the legions of music. Israfel is actually quite a powerful angel. He is what is called a lesser archangel. So, of course, the archangels are extremely powerful. Lesser archangels are not quite as powerful. They're smaller in size than the greater archangels, who have got this really tall aura. Israfel will still have a tall aura, and the thing with lesser archangels that they're actually found in greater numbers than the archangels. So generally speaking, one of the descriptions that I did find about the angels of music or the lesser archangels is actually that when they manifest, some people generally have the experience of them manifesting with bright shining faces that are framed by this long golden hair. I can honestly put my hand up and say, well, actually, I haven't seen their auras, so I'm not in a position to speak to that. But not only that, they are said to have these really dark eyes, which are open to see very deep within our personal auras, that's yours and mine, and to convey the thought or an idea of the eternal through to the recipient, which that's what we are if they bless us, if they decide to enter into our lives. And they carry the gifts of purity. Generally speaking, though, when it comes to the angels, or the lesser archangels rather, their focus is on group relationships and the development of their bond with each other, because they work and play together as a team, and also to help us to connect with each other and work together as a team. So you may as well say the idea of the whirling dervish potentially comes from the lesser archangels, because when these dervishes are dancing, they're creating a vibration. And of course, they do this through dancing in circles. Now, if you're a happy, joyous person by nature, then it's most likely that you're working with the lesser archangels and that you've got music in your soul or music in your spirit. You're closely connected to it. And you'll know that you're working with the lesser archangels when you've got a circle of friends and family, and they're vital to your stability. And you'll also know it too if you enjoy a dance and party and all these social gatherings. You might well be carrying a fragment of their energy within your own soul. So, when we talk about music being a vibration, I think most people will know this because we live in a world of technology, and we quite often will see these techno graphic images, if you like, of dots and lines and all the rest of it moving and jumping to the sound of a music. Well, that's the vibration that they're picking up on. But from a human level, it's about the fact that we feel this vibration of music, and it allows us to literally feel in capital letters. So we can feel the vibration through our skin if we're around music and it's really pumping, and you know that. Now, music is going to resonate or not resonate with us to the core of ourselves. You know, this is why some of us will find certain music repelling while other people are attracted to a specific type of music. But generally speaking, when music makes us feel, it creates this internal desire for activity. We're talking about dancing here. Now, people can either dance with joy. Some music obviously brings forth feelings of anger or a release of anger. I think back in the day we used to call that the headbanger stuff, But at the same time, whether it's the type of music that is associated with anger or not, it carries a sense of exhilaration with it. So, music can either do the release of the anger or the aggressive type emotions to create space for more positive feeling states. And then other times it can be quite calming, peaceful, relaxing, and yet other times it can actually inspire us to do certain actions. So I'm going to talk for a little bit and try and be quick about it to keep this video short on the different types of music and sound that we can draw upon. And we'll start with chanting, singing and mantras because they create a rhythm of their own. And the first chant or mantra that comes to mind for me is the Om. Okay, so if you were drawing upon the Om, it's considered to be like dialing 911 if you live in the US, or in Australia if we dial 000. It's kind of like a sound that we make when we're in an urgent need for assistance from the divine. And if we were to use the word Om or to chant it, it's kind of like singing, I invoke right here and right now under grace and in the divine way for support in X, Y, or Z. It's considered to be a very powerful vibration. Now, or sound, actually. Now, I would encourage anybody who is sitting there skeptically going like, oh, what a load of rot, to actually go out there and give it a try, okay? Preferably in a place where there's not a lot of people around, because I think I've been very blessed. I started practicing this stuff because I was living in remote areas and I had capacity and space to be able to put some of this stuff to the test. And what I found is that when you go into a really good Om, which my understanding is too, is that you put the emphasis on the first and then you follow up with the when you're doing it properly using the breath, not only I think that's the best way to actually explain a sound vibration, is because your whole body starts to vibrate with the sound, and you will become aware as you're saying the part that basically you can feel your body, all your body organs, if you like, vibrating to it. The part is actually the most observable because obviously as you go into the part, when you're doing it properly, your lips vibrate, you'll be able to feel that. And anyway, so it's quite a fascinating one to give it a try. The other one is the R. Now, the R sound, as in A-H-H-H-R, I'm obviously not putting emphasis and breath into these sounds because, to be quite honest, if I did, it would actually blow your eardrums out. The R is how we call upon the divine energy. The Om is considered to be masculine, and that is therefore protection and that kind of stuff. So another time I've actually drawn upon the Om is when I was driving a really long distance. I ended up having to do an 18-hour drive. This was many years ago, and I started to get fatigued, but I was too scared to pull over by the side of the road, so I actually just drew upon protection. It was amazing. Okay, that's a story for another day, maybe in the yarning. The other chant that I do recommend is one that's called Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I'm wondering, do you have a favourite chant? If you're into it, let me know, because I'm sure that there are other people that are going to be interested in it. But if you practice the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that one I kind of find is very uplifting. It kind of does more than elevates the mood. It kind of allows you to bring this really light energy within your sense of being. Gregorian chanting is more well known, but that also, if you've listened to them, that does create vibrational sound, as do the hymns of worship. Oops, what am I doing? The other times, sorry about that, I had a bit of a glitch there. The other times that we know of singing and chanting and that kind of stuff that's associated with experience, and I think it's worth mentioning here, is I only know to describe it as keening. This is the sound that the women have made historically when it comes to things like funerals. It's the chanting of the women in the funeral procession. It was called keening in Ireland and Scotland, I believe. And I also understand that the true traditions of how to actually keen effectively has now been lost. But I would imagine it's very similar to what we see in the Muslim or Arabic nations, where the women make, I can't remember that name, but you'll know it, you'll have seen it on a video at funerals. They do this wailing type sound. And my understanding is that this singing that happens at the funerals is about fostering that connection and paving the way for the soul to go into the heavenly regions and to access the divine. Ease of transition is another way of describing it. So then we talk about, because we've discussed vibration, it's now appropriate, I guess, to talk about healing with sound. There is a number of different ways we can work with sound healing, and vocal chakra toning is a really interesting way. I've experimented, I think, actually with all of these on my list that I've put on. So, okay, here's my feedback. I find vocal chakra toning very effective, and it's actually quite exhilarating. Tuning forks I have found to be very peaceful. Tibetan bowls I absolutely love. Crystal bowls, oh my goodness me, I had an amazing experience with that the first time I was associated with them. Gonging I'll talk about in a little while. Drumming I love. I've experienced being in sound circles and even singing circles, actually, where we used to do songs and that kind of stuff. The drumming, though, I've actually been the recipient of sitting in a circle where people drummed around me as part of raising the energy and giving some healing to me. Flutes, generally, I have not actually been in a group where flutes have been used. On me specifically, but I have been around flutes and didgeridoo. Didgeridoo, I've actually, because I'm Australian and because obviously we have Aboriginal people here that are the native and traditional landowners, and didgeridoo was part of their thing. I have heard people playing the didgeridoo quite regularly, even those people in the towns, because it's a real skill to be able to play them. So I've heard, I had a neighbour that used to practice the didge quite a bit. But I'm going to go back to say, look, all of them I actually find to be really interesting and positive ways to escalate vibration. The only one that I've ever, and I'm saying this because everybody's got different tastes, the only one I've ever actually been repelled by is actually gonging. And this is not because I have a thing against them. I just have a heightened sensitivity, I think, to the gongs. And I find it to be almost painful when the gongs happen. And as I say, I think that's probably more my sensitivity to certain sounds. And anyway, yeah, look, I can't sit in a gonging circle. I've sat there through it, but where other people go into this meditative state, with a gong, 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 for me, it's kind of like every time I hear the gong, it just pulls me out of whatever, say, heightened or meditative state that I was in. But each to their own. obviously, because I've been to gonging circles, I know that some people love it. And whether you love it or not, I would recommend that people go to one at least to have the experience of it. If they like it, they can go for more, of course. I've included songlines in here, although I think that's probably debatable about including them, but I think it's worth a mention as part of understanding. So, from an earthly perspective, the Australian Aboriginal folk, they have what they call songlines, and they're generally located to regions. Now, I'm no expert on this. If there's an Australian Aboriginal and they want to make a comment, please do. But my understanding is that these songlines refer to a specific area, a track, or a sacred pathway to a destination, or what they call a high energy spot, or what we would call a high energy spot. And that when they talk about the song lines, this is a memorized story of how to get to these sacred places. What I do understand and believe is that when they're singing these songs, they're sung in a ritualistic way that respects the creator. I would say that in many ways they're actually aligned with chants and mantras, but they are also extremely powerful. The reason that I'm mentioning them is because of this link with sacred places and spaces. And because I have practiced a lot of these sound singing, like vocal toning of the chakras, chanting of oms and other mantras in bush areas, I have experienced what would be called inexplicable phenomena where things have happened. And while I'm not sure and I can't be certain, it may have been that I've visited high energy and sacred places, or historically sacred places for the Aboriginal folk, because these experiences have been actually fantastic, and they've actually happened in the presence of other people at different times. And this becomes a case of where I make no claims to be the full bottle on any particular subject. What I am aware of is that I have read that there is sacred spaces on the earth plane, and that quite often they're linked with what do they call them, the veins of gold that are in the earth, and that there is a link between gold, the metal, the ore body, and with high energy. Now, the thing is, because I've lived in Western Australia, we have a lot of gold that is either being mined or below the surface. So in each of these places, and I was doing these exercises, as it happened, I was very close to sources of gold. And another time that I had a really incredible experience through doing chanting and mantras was actually on a coastal place. I think the pronunciation it was the land of the Iramagadoo. I think that's how you pronounce it. And if I've got it wrong, I'm so sorry. But anyway, a member of that mob told me the story of the rainbow serpent, because apparently where I was actually doing the chanting was basically in the area where the rainbow serpent lives, according to their folklore, which is quite interesting. And just a little bit of information here, okay, and this is tying together the traditions, if you like, of the earth-based cultures. When we talk about the rainbow, spiritually speaking, obviously the Aboriginal people have what they call the rainbow serpent. When we talk about the Irish folk, we're talking about the rainbow bridge. And when the Irish are talking about the rainbow, they are also talking about the angels and the fairy realm, and where to be able to access these light beings, if you like, to call them whatever you want, really. A name is a name. It's not important what we call them. It's important how we feel and experience them. But anyway, to be able to access these high beings, we have to be able to cross the rainbow bridge. And to do that, of course, we've got to raise our personal vibration so high that we can actually get across it. And this is where the chanting and the singing becomes a really important factor of that, and what I've found. And I'm having an inner debate whether or not I should actually talk about some of those experiences that I had in these places where I had this inexplicable phenomena, which was incredibly amazing. And once you have them, they're seared on your soul. It's like it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. Even if I was there on my own, it would still be seared on my soul. But what happens is when these experiences happen in the company of other people who bear witness to these experiences, it just solidifies the experience and it just makes you feel far more blessed. So, I know this might sound unfathomable to a lot of people, but the Angelic Choir is actually really quite interesting. I've heard about this, we read about things when people talk about it, where angels are singing and where we're able to hear them, and where they can sing en masse in a form of angelic choir. Now, while I haven't actually had that experience, I will actually talk about one experience that I did have in the Kalgoorlie area. You're welcome to go and do a bit of a Google there. Kalgoorlie has a giant, massive gold pit in the middle of it. So this is one of those areas where I talk about being potentially high vibration. What I did have was an experience where I took out two, I'm going to call them native New Zealand girls. They were Māori girls, and I think, what's the word? You don't say part these days, we say dual, if you like. They were a mixture of cultures, shall we say, but they were certainly very conscious and aware of their native traditions that had been lost, and they wanted to explore what they considered to be the spiritual phenomena. They want to get closer to it. And because I had been doing a lot of Reiki at the time and teaching people how to do Reiki, they found me and we agreed to go bush, and I would teach them how to do things like oms and chanting and mantras in the bush. Now, where I'm going with this is, during the process, once we started with the oms, and then we went over, I think maybe into Ahs. I think maybe then we were singing songs of worship or whatever. I can't remember now. But what I do remember is that at some point there sounded like there was the most beautiful voice coming through, and it was chillingly, hauntingly beautiful. And I thought it must have been one of the girls that I was singing with, but it turns out I could hear when one of them stopped singing. So we were listening to this haunting singing as well. After the fact, we discussed it, and the first girl that had stopped singing, she said she stopped singing because she became aware of this haunting voice that was happening in the background, and she was trying to see if it was from me or if it was from somewhere else, because in her opinion it sounded like it was coming from the treetops. And now I also had been interested to try and work out where it was from, but suffice to say, I'm getting high energy just talking about this. I'm getting tingles remembering what happened. It was absolutely amazing and beautiful and just awe-inspiring, because it was a disembodied type voice. It was very clearly not a human voice that was coming through literally from the treetops. And I eventually stopped because I was the only one singing, and so was this voice. And I became aware that the girls' fear was becoming palpable. They were becoming very frightened. So anyway, I stopped singing and we discussed it, and they were like, it was amazing and incredible, but clearly it overwhelmed them. And because I've got a sense of humour, they actually never spoke to me again. We went back in silence, and they were just like, that's just freaky, right? But they also acknowledged that during the process that it was happening, it was absolutely beautiful, and it made the heart feel as though it was just so full of love and expansive and ready to explode, if you like, with just this absolute love. So it was an amazing experience to have had, and I feel completely blessed to have had it in the company of others, even if after we returned they were so freaked out they never spoke to me again. So just bear that one in mind. So basically, getting back to Israfel, what he tries to convey to us is that we should all search for music that increases our ability to vibrate and feel. When music makes us want to dance, I'm not being very explicit here. When the music is propelling your body to get up and move, then you're becoming more open to light. When music touches our heart, we're open to be able to receive love. And when music unleashes our sensuality and our passion, then we're becoming more alive. When music helps us to express this anger and rage, if we're carrying it inside, then by expressing this anger, rage, sorrow, grief, whatever these heavier and darker emotions are, when we can express those, we're getting them out. We're getting them out of our body, out of our aura, and we're creating space for an internal transformation or shift that is actually going to strengthen our connection to the divine, to the creator. It helps us to break free of any sadness and emotions that bog us down. The thing is too that some people will actually worry that, if they let go of sadness, then they will start to forget the person. If we talk about grief and loss, that they will forget that person. No, that's not the case. So I'm here to let you know you will not forget these people. What will happen is that you'll start to remember the good times more than the sadness and the loss of losing them. So within this context, it's about permitting yourself to go beyond your concept of what celestial music is and to find rhythm in all areas of your life, as part of raising your vibration. Now, we can find rhythm even in the hum of traffic. We can find rhythm, interestingly, in the hum of an air conditioner, or sometimes, there's a sound that I hear at night, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe somebody's got a generator running or something like that. But there's also a hum and a rhythm associated with that. We are surrounded by sound. And the other thing that we can do is we can draw on music to promote activity. Now, you'll know within yourself that, if you've got things to do, there's a time and a place for different music. If you want to relax, you play relaxing music. If you want to get active and get busy, if you've got a heap of housework to get through, then you're going to play music not to relax yourself, but rather to energize yourself and promote activity. A really important part or message, if you like, from Israfel is one about letting go of judgment of what is right and wrong, certainly when it comes to music. We are all united with the angels, and all of creation is an instrument of the internal. It's a product, if you like, that the Creator has created it, and each element has a purpose itself. Now, I'm trying to think how to explain this a bit better. I guess the best way of explaining it is there is no right and wrong way for you to tap into the vibration of sound to be able to enhance your personal connection to the divine. It's going to be whatever it is that you need it to be. And if you need to be listening to sad songs to let pain out, then listen to sad songs. If you need to listen to energetic type songs to help you, or music, I shouldn't say songs because it's not all about songs. If you need to be listening to energetic type music to help you to feel alive, then that's what you listen to. Other times you might just want to sit there and float, if you like, on the music or the sound. In fact, actually, that's where the healing with sound stuff is very good, because if you're actually doing things like, not the drumming can actually help transport you, if you like, but things such as the flutes, I find, will transport me, as will Tibetan bowls, and even the crystal bowls will help transport me to this elevated space. But either way, you're invited to participate in the miracle of sound. So on this slide, I have just put some invocation suggestions for you to consider as part of your own journey. Just a reminder, though, that before you would invoke any angel, be it archangel or any other particular angel, you always invoke the Creator first, okay? So work out what invocation or healing suggestion you want to pursue, and then invoke the Creator and the angel of specific energy that you're looking to bring into your life. And I also, just a tip here, I don't dictate. So let's say that I was wanting to work with the angels of music. I might put in the invoke Creator first, and then say Israfel. But I would also finish off somewhere with, I think I call it a disclaimer. It's where I sort of do the like, or other angels as the divine sees fit. You know what I mean? The perfect angel for my perfect need. So you put the respect, I guess, and acknowledgement that the Creator is going to give us the best possible outcome to achieve a goal, I guess. So anyway, there's some suggestions for you. So, when it comes to recommending music, obviously everybody's got their own idea, and you're invited to put up your personal preferences of music when it comes to raising your vibration, if you like. I have a number of fallback ones, so I thought, well, I'll put them up here because some people might not be aware of what type of music is out there. And I did a bit of a Google, and I was able to establish that, yes, there's a lot of this stuff on YouTube if people are into it. Now, I just wanted to say, Medwin Goodall, I absolutely love his Medicine Woman trilogy. They're just amazing. Enya, anything by her basically can transport me, which is why I've got two up there for her. I find the Mariner ones, the ocean type ones, to be deeply relaxing as well. I'm making a mention of Cecilia here because Cecilia is one I think might be a bit of an acquired taste. And when I first heard it, the story goes that I developed a bit of a rapport with the people that had the shop where I bought my CD from. This is back in the days of CDs. And they said to me, because I said, can you make a recommendation? And they said, Cecilia. I said, okie dokie. As you do. And I took it home with me. And back in the days, I had a CD player that did auto replay. And the thing was, I was actually painting the ceiling, not the ceilings, the walls. I was living in a house with very high walls, and I needed to do some painting. So I had a high ladder that I had to get up on to do the top. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because there's a story here. I was at the top of that ladder with a paint tray in my hand and a roller, and at risk of falling off the ladder with the paint tray in my hand when Cecilia started to play. Now, Cecilia actually is an opera singer, but it's not all opera on this CD. In fact, it's not opera. It's I recommend a person give it a go, because when it came on, I thought, oh my goodness me, I can't believe it. I thought, oh, now I'm stuck listening to this whole CD at this top of the ladder. Now, the thing was, it took me a long time to paint this room, and because I had paint on my hands as well, when I did get down off the ladder, I didn't want to go to the CD player. I ended up listening to that CD, I think on repeat about 6 times. And where I'm going with this is what I didn't know. A young girl, and I'm talking to you, Erin, if you watch this, this is what you remember and what she reminded me of not that long ago. She said my voice. Well, what happened is by about the third round, I started being able to sing. Now, I don't think that it was me singing. This is why I'm mentioning Erin. I had put out to be able to channel music. And what had happened apparently is Erin was walking past my house. She was a friend of my daughter's, and she heard me singing. And according to her, she came into my house and she sat behind the lounge room wall. Of course, I didn't see it. The doors are open for my kids to come in and out. And apparently what she was doing was sitting in the passageway on the other side of the wall listening to me sing, because she said it sounded like an angel. Well, it probably was an angel, the angel of music, but yeah, either way, I absolutely love that CD now, is where I'm going, and I recommend it to anybody. So I will try and hurry up here because this video has got long, but it's because I'm giving personal experience and also my views and points and that kind of stuff. Look, when it comes to throat singing at the moment, I actually really do recommend people give a listen to them at least a couple of times because it really does express vibration. The throat singers actually vibrate their vocal cords, I guess, in the way of doing it. And they have converted it over, I guess, to modern tastes in a way. Now, Amit Ozcan and Otikan Elte, I think that's their names. I find them. I've found them more recently, and they're really quite magical. If you can spend a little bit of time watching it, it may be a little bit uncomfortable if it's stuff that you haven't done before, but I think you will find that it will at least explain to you about music and sound vibration. Ada, I'm not even going to try and pronounce her surname. If you can find, she actually did an audition on one of the Voice series or something like that, and they thought that she was miming to a record because I understand what it is they're talking about with her singing style, particularly at this audition. It sounds like she's throwing her voice. It almost sounds disembodied, and it does actually sound a bit like that voice I heard from the treetops. So I can understand why they say she's got the voice of an angel. So that one is worth taking a look at. The Who, I'm recommending The Who for you, although it is considered to be metal. And this is because it's very vibrant. There is a particular song that I recommend, and it's called Wolf Totem. And it goes for, I think, about 5 minutes. But it is just so incredibly powerful as a song. It's energizing. And even though it's metal, if metal's not your thing, you're going to find that your jaw is going to hit the floor, I would imagine. But if not, do write your comments up. But what happened when I was working in mental health, we had a client and he was very difficult to connect with. He was not a big speaker. He had what is called multiple and complex problems. And I was challenged to try and find a way to connect with this guy. And I was aware he continually was playing metal and it was pouring out of his little unit because this was independent living or supported living. And anyway, what happened was I took it upon myself to try and build connection with him through music. And so I went over to his unit, I took over a laptop and I said, I know you're into metal. And I said, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this particular group. And I played him Wolf Totem. And suffice to say, I left him and everybody at work was going, what have you done to him? Because he was playing The Who all the time. And it really changed his mood, actually. I'll say that it definitely had, because this guy was particularly psychologically unwell, it had a very positive influence upon him and his behaviour and his mood. And I would go as far as to say within about 12 months, even his life, actually. So, it opened his world up for him is where I'm going. So, my friends, this video has got much longer than I intended it to be, and I do apologise for that. I'd like to thank you for being part of my journey. I'm going to leave you with all of that stuff to have a think about and draw upon at your leisure if that's what you're into. And just say, yes, once again, thank you for being part of my journey. Please do leave comments. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the channel or liking the video. That would be wonderful. And in the meantime, have a blessed day, blessed week. Catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.